Once upon a time, in a small town, there was a warm little house. Inside that house lived four sisters: Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy. They were not rich, but they were rich in love. Their mother, whom they called Marmee, was the kindest woman, always helping others. Their father was away, working as a soldier in the war. The girls missed him dearly. It was winter, and snow covered the ground like a soft white blanket. Christmas was coming, but there were no gifts, no big feast, and no fancy clothes. Yet the girls did not complain. They sat near the fire, talking happily. Jo, the second eldest, stood up. "I wish we had presents," she said, running her fingers through her short, brown hair. "But I guess we must be grateful for what we have." Meg, the eldest, smiled. "Yes, Jo, we have each other, and that is better than any gift." Beth, the quiet and gentle one, whispered, "Maybe we can make this Christmas special by giving to others." Amy, the youngest, pouted, "But I wanted new drawing pencils." Marmee entered the room, her eyes full of warmth. "My dear girls, I have something to tell you. There is a poor family nearby. They have no food, no warm clothes, and the little children are sick. Would you like to help them?" The girls looked at each other. They had been saving a little money for treats, but they knew what was right. "Yes, Marmee," they all said together. The next morning, they carried baskets full of food, blankets, and warm clothes to the poor family's home. When they arrived, they saw a mother with her little children, shivering in the cold. The children's faces lit up when they saw the food and warm blankets. "Bless you, dear children," the poor mother said, tears in her eyes. Beth knelt beside a little girl and wrapped a warm scarf around her neck. "You will feel better now," she said softly. The sisters left the house with light hearts. They had given away their Christmas breakfast, but they felt happier than ever. That night, Marmee smiled at them proudly. "You have learned the joy of giving," she said. Days passed, and the girls continued to grow. Jo, who loved writing, started working on her own stories. She dreamed of becoming a famous writer. Meg, who was beautiful and kind, hoped to have a happy home one day. Beth loved playing the piano and found happiness in simple things. Amy wanted to be a great artist and was always trying to act like a lady. One day, their rich neighbor, Mr. Lawrence, invited them to a party. His grandson, Larry, was a lonely boy longing for friends. When Jo met him, they quickly became best friends. "You're not like other girls," Larry said to Jo, laughing. "You're brave and funny, and you're not like other boys," Jo replied. "You understand me." Larry started visiting the sisters often, and they became like family. They played, laughed, and shared dreams together. But life was not always easy. One winter, Beth fell very sick. The whole family was worried. Joe stayed by her side, reading stories and holding her hand. "Don't leave us, Beth," Joe whispered, tears in her eyes. Beth smiled weakly. "I am not afraid, Joe. I just want all of you to be happy." The family prayed and hoped, but Beth's health did not get better. One quiet evening, with Joe beside her, Beth closed her eyes forever. The house felt empty without her. Joe, who had always been strong, cried for days. "I should have done more for her," she told Marme. Held her close. "You loved her, Joe, and that is enough." Beth was happy because she had you. Joe wiped her tears and decided to honor Beth's memory by working harder on her writing. She poured her heart into her stories, hoping one day they would touch people's hearts. Meanwhile, Meg got married to a kind man, John, and started her own little family. Amy, who had always dreamed of art and beauty, traveled to Europe to study painting. And Laurie, who had once loved Joe, found love with Amy instead. At first, Joe was surprised, but then she understood. Love comes in different ways, and she wanted them to be happy. Joe found her own happiness in a different way. She met a wise and kind man, Professor Barr, who encouraged her to follow her dreams. "You have a great heart, Joe," he told her. "Use your words to make the world better." Joe realized that love was not just about romance, it was in family, in friendship, and in doing what she loved. She opened a school for children and continued writing stories. As the years passed, the sisters stayed close, remembering Beth, laughing together, and supporting each other. They had different lives, but their hearts remained one. And so, the little women grew up. But they never forgot the lessons they had learned: kindness, love, and the importance of family. Life is not always easy. We lose people, we face struggles, but love and goodness never leave us. This story teaches us that even in sadness, there's beauty. Even in loss, there is hope. As the years passed, Joe found herself reflecting on life more deeply. She often sat by the window, watching the seasons change, remembering the times when she, Meg, Beth, and Amy were just girls, laughing and dreaming under the same roof. The house was quieter now, but love still filled its walls. One evening, as she was writing in her journal, she heard a soft knock at the door. When she opened it, she found Laurie standing there with a warm smile. "Joe," he said, "I was just passing by and thought I'd visit. Mind if I come in?" She smiled and stepped aside. "Of course, Laurie. You're always welcome." They sat by the fire, sipping tea and talking about old times. Laurie looked around the room, his eyes filled with memories. "I miss Beth," he admitted softly. "It's strange how life moves on, but some people stay with us forever." Joe nodded, her heart aching but also feeling warm. "She's still here, Laurie, in the music she loved, in the kindness she showed, in the way we love each other. She never really left. Laurie reached for Joe's hand and squeezed it gently. You're right. She would want us to be happy. The two old friends smiled at each other, their hearts filled with understanding. Meanwhile, Meg was busy with her own family. Her little children, Daisy and Demi, filled her days with laughter and joy. Though money was tight, she found happiness in the simple things: her husband's love, the sound of her children's giggles, the warmth of home. Amy, now a graceful woman, returned from Europe with a heart full of dreams. She had grown into someone elegant yet kind, determined yet loving. She and Laurie were deeply in love, and together they built a life full of beauty and adventure. One day, as Jo sat in her small school, watching the children learn and play, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: peace. For so long, she had chased big dreams, hoping to become a famous writer, hoping to prove herself to the world. But now she realized something important. Happiness wasn't just in fame or fortune. It was in the small moments: the laughter of a child, the warmth of a friend's hand, the love of a family. One evening, as she sat with Professor Barr, he looked at her fondly and said, "Jo, you have given these children something precious: not just knowledge, but kindness, and a place to belong." She smiled, feeling the truth of his words. "I used to think I needed to be someone great to be happy, but now I know love is the greatest thing of all." He nodded. "And you, Jo, are very much loved." She blinked back tears, not of sadness, but of gratitude. Life had not given her everything she had once wished for, but it had given her more than she had ever imagined. And so, the little women, Jo, Meg, Beth, and Amy, each found their own paths. Some dreams changed, some were lost, but the love they shared remained forever. And that, my dear listener, is the most beautiful thing about life. It is not about having everything, it is about cherishing what we have. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe. Your support brings more beautiful stories to life, reminding us all of the power of love, kindness, and family. Keep spreading goodness, just like the little women did. As the years passed, Jo's life continued to unfold in ways she never expected. She built a school, filled it with children who had nowhere else to go, and watched as young minds flourished under her care. The old March home, once filled with the laughter of her sisters, was now alive again with the voices of eager students. Meg visited often with her little ones, Daisy and Demi. She had found happiness in the simple joys of family life. Though money was sometimes tight, her love for John and their children made everything worthwhile. Amy and Laurie traveled the world, living a life filled with beauty and adventure. Yet no matter how far they went, they always returned home, knowing that nothing in the world could replace the warmth of family. One quiet evening, Jo sat outside with Marmee, watching the sunset paint the sky with soft oranges and pinks. Do you ever miss the old days, Marmee? Joe asked softly. Marmee smiled, reaching for Joe's hand. Oh, my dear, I do. But I also love seeing what my little women have become. Life changes, Joe, but love remains. And that is enough. Joe squeezed her mother's hand, understanding now what she had not as a child. Life was not about holding on to the past, but about cherishing it while embracing what was to come. One day, Professor Barr came to visit, carrying a small package. For you, Joe, he said with a warm smile. Curious, she unwrapped it and found a beautifully bound book. Her book. She traced her fingers over the cover, her heart swelling with emotion. It's real, she whispered. It is more than real, he said gently. It is a gift to the world, just as you are. Tears pricked Joe's eyes. I always thought happiness meant something big, like fame or adventure. But now I see. Happiness is in the people we love, in the stories we share, in the small moments we hold close. Professor Barr nodded. You have found wisdom, Joe. She smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. She had once dreamed of being someone great, but now she realized she had been great all along because she had loved, she had given, and she had lived fully. As she walked back into the house that evening, she placed the book on the table and looked around at the home that had shaped her. Though Beth was gone, her presence was everywhere in the music of the piano, in the kindness of their hearts, in the love that held them all together. And so, the little women grew, but they never forgot where they came from. Dear listener, this story is a reminder that happiness is not in riches or fame, but in the love we give and receive. Cherish the people in your life. Hold on to the moments that matter, and never stop believing in the beauty of kindness. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe. Your support helps bring more beautiful stories to life, reminding us all that love and kindness are the most powerful things in the world. Keep spreading goodness, just like the little women did.